So you want to start oil painting. You've never done it before. There are some basics. Let's go over them. Well, first off, you need some basic supplies. And I would suggest picking up some already made panels or canvases. This is a cradled panel. Some people like it because it's stiffer and it doesn't warp at all. And the problem I have with this is it's an ultra smooth surface, and so I have to put a coat of gesso on it. So there's different kinds of gesso. I already put one coat on this, and usually 2 coats is a good idea. You should let it completely dry before you paint on top of it. There's not really a technique that I know of for doing this. You just want to kind of slather it on, smooth it out, and cover every bit of the surface. Okay, that's it for the gesso. And we just let it dry. It takes about 5 minutes. Now the next thing might cross your mind is, what kind of brushes do I need? Now you can get some really reasonably priced brushes at Michael's or Aaron Brothers or any of the kind of art supply stores. You will usually hear that you should get a hog's hair brush. Different people prefer different types. For instance, this one is filbert, and you can tell by the rounded edges. Filberts are really good for flowers and stuff like that. And then this is a long flat. I really like these long flats for getting in nice crisp lines when I want nice crisp lines. And I also, this is my personal preference, I also kind of like the synthetic brushes. You can get a smoother appearance, but you know, just play with it and see which ones you prefer. You probably want to get a couple different sizes. For instance, this is an evergreen filbert from Rosemary's, the one I just did gesso with. And this is a size 8. So you probably want at least a size 8 so you can paint bigger brush strokes. And these are my favorite brushes, by the way, the Rosemary's. I really like them. They're possibly a little bit more expensive, but they're really good quality. And this is an ivory long flat, size 4. So you want at least those two, 8 and 4. And then you want some kind of a liner, ivory pointed round. This one's a little worn out, but usually the ends are nice and pointy and you can sign something or put in lines. This is one I just got the other day. This is a fan brush, size 4, also rosemary. And it's really good for like grasses. I did a painting where I put in a bunch of grasses by the ocean. Let me show it to you. So this worked really well to get those grasses in. It saved me a lot of up and down stuff. The next thing you're gonna need is paint. And so I recommend the highest quality paint that you can find at your local store. You can even order them online at Jerry's Artorama or Dick Blick, and there's other companies too and other paints I haven't tried. Feel free to experiment. You definitely need a white paint. You need at least 1 yellow, at least 1 blue, and 1 red. Now the standard kind of go-tos are ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and cad yellow medium. I have a few kind of outside that I use. I use what they call a mixed primary palette, which is I have a cool and a warm of each color, but that's me. And I did start out pretty basic when I first started painting. So as long as you get a blue, a yellow, and a red, and your white, you can paint pretty much anything. Now the paints I mostly use are Gamblin, and for some reason I just prefer the Winsor Newton white, titanium white. And I also use Rembrandt transparent oxide red. This is great for an underpainting when you're doing the ocean. And I have a few extra blues like cobalt teal that I use for ocean water. And so this is my palette. You also need odorless mineral spirit to clean your brushes between use. And I use Gamsol Pure Odorless Mineral Spirits. And you will find some different opinions about this. Some people don't clean their brushes at all, but they put it in a combination of a couple different oils to keep them flexible, and then they only wash them very periodically. But you can check Draw Mix Paint, and he has a special stand oil, which is what he calls it, that he sells, although it's been out of stock for a while, but you could try back. Now you also need a container to put your odorless mineral spirits in, and you can get these anywhere. The last thing you need is a stand, either a floor stand or a table stand. Either one will work. So how do you start a painting? Get your photograph, get your canvas and divide it into 9s, and then draw your picture in of how you want it to look. I divided my panel into 9 squares evenly, 4.6 inches on the long side, which is 14, and 3.6 inches on the short side, which is 11. And I did the same thing to my photo, and that's how I'll get everything in the right spot. So this is a demo of me outlining on my canvas. And I usually use yellow ochre for this. And then I do my block in, usually with transparent red oxide. And sometimes I mix a little yellow ochre with it. And I block in the whole painting with this, trying to reflect the values of what I'm expecting to paint. And for the mountains, I decided I wanted to block in with the blue. And you know, I have this problem where I'm always starting to paint before I should. I haven't even finished the block in. But it gives me an idea. Now this is where I really had a problem with the clouds, but that's another story, and probably my next video. Anyway, that's how you get started on a painting. So it's pretty simple, really. It's nothing to stress about, and anybody can learn to paint. Happy painting!